How's it, everybody? I hope you're all doing okay. So here's a short reflection for today. Isn't it ironic that here we are celebrating Pesach, which is a time of freedom, and yet we are so limited, we are so restricted in our movements, in our socializing, in so many aspects of our lives. Can this indeed be called a time of freedom? Do you know that the first mitzvah that the Jewish people received as a nation was the mitzvah of establishing the Jewish calendar? Why was that the first mitzvah? And why does the Torah count the month of Nisan, where we celebrate Pesach, as the first month of the year? Surely it should be Tishrei, where we celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Why the month of Nisan, where we celebrate Pesach? Why is that month number one? What's the difference between a slave and a free person? The difference is that a free person has control over their own time. This is why the first mitzvah we received as a nation was establishing the calendar. Because now that we were no longer enslaved, we had control over our own time. And this is why the Torah counts the month of Nisan, when we celebrate Pesach, leaving Egypt, as month number one. Because in a certain sense, it's when we left Egypt, that's when Jewish history begins. Why? Because what is history? History is a series of choices that lead to the events of today. But those choices can only be made by a free people. And that's why, when does the calendar begin? What's month number one? Nisan, Pesach, when we left slavery and we achieved true freedom. We're now in a time of restriction, limitation, lockdown. But what's important is that we don't become enslaved to our circumstances. Pesach reminds us that we are masters over our own time. And that's why it's so important during this time to make sure that we take ownership over the time. Things like still eating healthily, doing exercise, making time for meditation, for prayer, for studying Torah, for quality time with our families. Because when we do that, then we will make sure, we will indeed ensure that this time will not be a time of enslavement to our circumstances, but will indeed be the time of our freedom. Have a wonderful Pesach.